Like, I remember an old male comedian, I was wearing a dress, and he said, "My God, you have lovely legs." And I thought, right, I'm never wearing a dress on stage again.
Hello and welcome to Unfiltered. My name is Ollie Dugmore and my guest today is a stand-up comedian. Raised in a nothing town that you pass through on the train from Edinburgh to Glasgow, and those are her words, by her 30s she'd found success as a stand-up, making regular TV appearances. But, away from the public eye, she was searching for answers. Answers to why she had never quite fitted in. Had taught herself Danish at 8 years old and habitually destroyed all the furniture in her flat. Her new book, Strong Female Character, details this search and her eventual diagnosis with autism, 20 years after she first suggested she may have it to doctors, age 16. Fern Brady, welcome to Unfiltered. How's tricks?
Listen, I don't speak Danish. I just was interested in learning foreign languages, so I've not got a superpower, because that's a big myth about autism.
Go on.
We've got special skills.
Well,
My superpower is no one wants me at their weddings or birthday parties. Is that a special skill?
I guess so. I have a little bit of experience with that, but I think that might be because I drink a bit too much.
Oh,
How are you?
I hate drinking. I'm actually very uptight about alcohol.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most dangerous drugs out there.
I think in particularly as well, in relation to the way we think about drugs in our society, the ones that are illegal, right? We conceive of them as being these deeply dangerous and things that are to the detriment of society. And you look at things like alcohol and cigarettes, which are both legalised, regulated. The damage they do to us is, pretty extraordinary. I think we're going to get into this a little bit because reading your book, you talk about Xanax, you talk about Ritalin, and I read in a piece in the Times as well about cannabis. So maybe if we have a bit of time, we can talk about self-medicating.
I think we're close to it being legal in this country, and it's the obstinacy around it is mad, because you can get private prescription if you have a private doctor. You can get, because I was offered that as I had a lot of chronic joint and back pain. But
Really?
It was from the stress of writing the book. And the doctor, because I said to this doctor, I was like, I know that you do cannabis prescriptions, but I haven't come to you for that. And he was like, I can give you one.
You can come to me for that if you want.
I just felt weird. I didn't want to have to switch to asking the doctor what strains do you have and stuff. It just felt a bit strange.
That would be a weird conversation, right, with someone who, I think typically British people, right, you have that conversation, it's like a WhatsApp message with like a menu or whatever, or some guy selling you skunk under an alleyway in London. And then that transaction taking place in kind of like a professional medical setting, it must have been quite alienating or like a bit jarring. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it was a surprise. And then I was telling my weed guy about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, they've kept it very quiet that you can now get it on private prescription."
I mean, there's all sorts with that. My day job, I'm the political editor at Joe. And for a long time, one of the Home Office ministers, her husband was the CEO at British Sugar, which is one of the largest cannabis manufacturers and exporters in the world. And that all happens in this country. We farm it, we sell it. You're just not allowed to take it here. And I thought that was,
That's what my weed guy told me.
Yeah.
This is what I mean about unfiltered. I don't know if I should say
this is
my
great.
Weed guy, but he's actually quitting to do CBD.
Oh, really?
Stuff.
He's going straight. Yeah, getting honest with it.
I find it hard to get my head around people who binge drink but then will not touch weed at all, because I just think alcohol, well, it's a carcinogen. I don't not drink at all, but I treat alcohol as cautiously as I would treat illegal drugs. I think binge drinking in the UK is repulsive. Like, I just hate it.
I don't think we've had a full reckoning with our relationship with alcohol in this country. Why is it that young people, I don't know, take students for example, go out 3 nights a week and get so binned that they don't know who they are. There's obviously something on quite a deep psychological level happening there. Is it escapism? I don't know what it is, but
I read I don't know if it was a social anthropologist did a study into the way British people drink, but she said, if you imagine that all the first parties you go to and any mixing with the opposite sex and any early sexual experiences you have, if alcohol is always present, then you end up becoming a person who only feels comfortable having casual sex when you're drunk or doing certain things when you're drunk. And just how normalised that is in Britain, I find absolutely baffling. Because I go to Australia fairly regularly for work, and they're not like that. And you
Mm,
know what they all say about us. Like,
yeah.
I've been in taxis in Sydney, and they're like, "Oh, there's drunk British people fighting again." I
Mm.
was on holiday in Greece last summer, and the old man I was renting an Airbnb off of said, "You always know the Brits are on the plane because they are drunk at 11 a.m." So I think Britain has this notion of itself as stiff upper lip, and
Mm.
we love the Queen and tradition, and that's not what everyone else is saying about us.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of it comes from drinking and hooliganism, and it's embarrassing. And then you get people who say they're no good at smoking weed. Well, have you practiced it? Because you probably weren't good at drinking alcohol the first few times. First few times I was drunk, I was violently sick.
Yep.
Then you learn to modulate your, is that the right word? You learn how to
Moderate.
moderate your usage. So people need to do the same with weeds.
Yeah.
They just don't. You have to practice.
That's the key lesson. Get your practice in.
Because there's still so few women do stand up in Scotland. Generally, anywhere that's working class, like you'll get less women doing stand up. I think because it's seen as an unappealing, undesirable thing for a woman to do. Like in London, one of the things I like most about living here is the bills are 50-50. But as with all feminism, feminism always benefits middle class people first, right? So all the women that you're seeing coming through now, I mean, it is literally like the daughters of politicians and oligarchs. Literally, like Alistair Campbell's daughter is doing stand up.
A really interesting word in that for me was undesirable when you were talking about women from working class backgrounds.
Yeah,
How much do you think male desire and I guess the male gaze does influence and sort of permeates the creative industries in that way? If
massively.
yeah, I
Like
thought
I,
so.
I still find it disappointing that, especially like I say in the book, I was a stripper when I was at uni, and I remember when I left that, I thought I'm never shaving my legs ever again. I'm never shaving my legs or my armpits ever again. And I'm never going to make any effort in terms of how I look after this because it really radicalized me towards feminism.
Tell me more about that.
Um, well, it was, I think women get given, we have a certain amount of goodwill towards men, and that's meant to last you over a lifetime, right? And if you do stripping for 2 or 3 years, unfortunately, you use up that little pot of goodwill. So mine is all gone.
Mm.
It's all got. It's nice talking to you and stuff just now, but
You're all right.
um, like I said in the book, people. I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, did stripping change the way you thought about men?" As if it made me delusional about them in some way. Not delusional, disillusioned. Sorry.
Mm.
But it wasn't that. It was more like the scales fell from my eyes, and I saw how things actually were. Um, but what was I saying before that?
I,
Oh yeah. So after I quit that, I just thought I'm never gonna like be fake nice to a man again or act a way I don't want to towards men again or do certain things with my appearance. And then you go into stand up and uh at first when you do stand up, when you're a new comedian, like I remember an old male comedian, I was wearing a dress at a gig and he said, "My God, you have lovely legs." And I thought, right, I'm never wearing a dress on stage again. So I would dress quite boyishly. And then when you start doing TV, one of the first TV shows I did, someone said to me, dress like you're going to a really nice party. And then from how concerned I became about my appearance on TV, I thought, this isn't that much different to stripping. Like, I really don't want to care about things like getting your nails done or whether you need a tan for TV or whether you need to lose a certain amount of weight to look okay on TV. But unfortunately, that's kind of the game you have to play. I suppose I could opt out of it, but I also don't want to be poor ever again. So the fear of being skint
yeah.
pushes you to play that game. Um, but then there are people now that I try and look to for inspiration, women in the media, but I don't want to say who they are in case it sounds like I'm saying, they look a mess. But
Yeah.
there's women in the media now where I go, well, look, they haven't played the game,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you could try and be more like them.
Mm-hmm.
And my boyfriend's always saying to me, he's like, people aren't coming to watch your gigs because of how you look. Like, they don't care.
It's good for your self-esteem, isn't it?
No, but he's.
Just to delve, as you mentioned it, delve into stripping a little bit more. You mentioned it in the book. This is a quote: "The best part-time job you ever had."
Yeah.
What was it about? What
Yeah.
was it? What was it about it that felt like a good fit for you? Was there a positive side to it that's different from the one you've just spoken about there?
Well, for comparison, I can tell you jobs that were far worse than it. It was working in Tesco on the checkouts. And working in Boots. And working in an office was really hard as well. So stripping tends to attract a lot of weird girls, which I guess is not what people would expect. Yeah, so you get a lot of unusual personalities. So straight away, I preferred hanging about with the people that I worked with than the people I went to university with, because I went to the University of Edinburgh, which is lots and lots of privately educated Londoners and people from the southeast of England. So that makes it sound like I'm anti-English. I'm not. It just was a culture shock.
Yeah.
So there's that. It's impossible to get sacked. You really have to be.
You tried.
Not at all. Not at all. I was like the quiet geek in the places I worked. You have to be cuckoo bananas to get sacked from a strip club. And even then, they'll let you come back a week later.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I witnessed one girl beating my boss with her shoe, and he was a nice boss. And I'm sure she still came back.
Fair enough.
So there's that.
Yeah.
The hours are very flexible because you're self-employed. The outfits are cool. There's always something interesting happening. There's just always something funny will happen or something weird will happen, and the chat is good. Not with the men. I'd say about 80% of the job was sitting on, because this was like Scottish strip clubs. They weren't very busy. And it was also 2006 to 2008. So the kind of initial excitement of a strip club had died down. People, I think online porn was more available. So why on earth would you go to this thing? So like 80% of the job was us just sitting on couches in our mad costume, like a nurse's costume, a schoolgirl's costume, watching weird documentaries on Channel 5. That was it.
Not bad then.
Yeah. And then you'd be like, don't worry, at 11 p.m. it gets good. That's when people come in. And then no one would come in, and you'd say, Saturday is going to be busy.
We'll make some money then.
Yeah, it was just farcical. One of the best summers I ever had was working in a strip club with a load of girls I really got on with, and we just made no money all summer, but we had a good time. We had a good laugh. But I don't go in for any of the arguments now. I mean, I feel so old now when I hear people say things like, sex work is work. It's like, yeah, but your family will still disown you, probably. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't feasibly argue that a job was empowering when I had to argue with another girl because we both turned up in the same sexy schoolgirl outfit on costume night. Come on, it's not empowering. Are the people in power doing it? No. The whole power dynamic of a strip club, and I'm quoting feminist scholars here. This isn't like my own thing that I came up with. But if you look at disempowered people, they're generally wearing less clothes. Like slaves would wear loincloths or whatever. So that's what the whole thing's about. And that's what men get a kick out of from going to it. It isn't just about seeing boobs. It's about a power dynamic.
Interesting.
I think.
Looking back on that,
maybe you disagree.
No,
maybe
I
you're
don't
like,
know.
no, I just like seeing.
I just like boobs.
Well,